Welcome back to Scoundrels, Inc., another Star Wars podcast. I am Frank Janish alongside Brandon, the Hitman Hannah, and Kevin, now in HD Smets. Kevin?
Well, it doesn't matter. I'm like this in your thing anyway, so you can't really...
Smets vision.
Oh, no, actually, I changed it. So
You changed the layout now?
Yeah. You would know that if you watched our episodes, but I guess you don't.
I haven't watched an episode.
Wait, is this Sonic the Hedgehog plushie going to be in the video?
No. I mean, the only one I didn't mess around with was Kevin's. Kevin's just a big old blotch on the screen right now.
What?
Nice.
I'm a blotch?
Yeah, because you don't like the way it was done. So now
you make me a freaking blotch?
No, I mean you just take up the whole screen. Really, it's just your whole face and just our voices now. Just our voices, and you're full screen. You're full screen.
Do you think they have problems like this on the HoloNet?
The what?
All I know is I'm excited to get my camera finally working. It hadn't been working since the first time I did it on Jedi Way. And then the first thing Frank says is, well, we really need to work on your lighting setup. You have me buy a wrong cord. The cord didn't even work. It came in today.
I thought it came in yesterday.
Was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday.
Yeah.
Man, these days, I still have holiday brain, to be honest. Like at work, it's been doing the same thing to me. But it's really cool in the camera here. It keeps putting like a little thing to focus on my eyes, and it's very Terminator. Anyways.
Anyways, this week we're going to be talking about Star Wars titles. This was something you brought up, Kevin, last episode when we recorded about talking about the titles, ranking the titles. You wanted to rank the titles, is that right, Kevin?
Yeah, I'm glad titles, because when I first glanced at it, it looked like another word, and I'm like, why are we going to rank those? Use your imagination, you'll figure out what I'm talking about.
Yeah. What happened to all that bright light that was on your face just now? It's gone.
That was because I was going to your look at
Oh,
Jesus.
there we can see your face now. Never mind.
That's how you want me to look? This bright? Too bright. I'm the guy at the club that, like, when the lights come on, like, I immediately I get out of there because I don't want anyone looking like, seeing what I look like. Go ahead.
Speaking of club, Happy New Year, everyone. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everybody. It's our New Year's episode. Dude, our Christmas episode was off the chain.
Yeah.
Welcome to 2024, where there's going to be no arguments about Star Wars whatsoever on the internet.
Yeah. Hey, did you guys see about that Star Wars Theory guy? He got in a fake fight with Mark Hamill. I thought that was pretty funny.
Did you say Captain Kirk was involved too? Yeah.
Yeah. William Shatner just like out of the blue, like quote tweeted him talking smack. And then people were like, oh my God, Star Wars Theory is catching strays from Star Trek. What's going on?
Yeah, but I think actually I looked further into that one because I was really hoping. And then I think it was more in jest from Shatner's part, which is fine, whatever. I just thought it was pretty funny to begin with. But that whole ordeal, it's so funny on Twitter. It's funny. It's funny to me. It's funny to me that people pay so much attention to it. And now here we are talking about it. So how about that?
Hence the theory of chaos.
Yeah. And then Theory's going to return the favor, and he's going to talk about my Jar Jar Binks impression on his channel and how good it is.
Oh, okay. Hopefully that works out.
Next week, we're going to have a good Jar Jar Binks impersonation from you.
Mm-hmm. Because
our topic next week has a very crazy theory involving him.
Interesting. Okay.
There's
if this is your first time...
What a Hablibber is.
If this is your first time here on the channel or on the podcast feed, subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the podcast feed, one or the other, or both. If you could do that, if you're able to do that, that'd be great. We have social media. All the links are in the description there, along with everything else for the podcast feed, the YouTube channel, all that good stuff. Follow us over there. And it's gonna be a great time. We also have a Discord too. Again, link in the description for that. And Kevin,
hi.
How
Nothing's
you doing?
Been updated on the Super Watch. I have nothing for you.
Okay, that's fine. Holiday season's been crazy.
The only thing I'll add to the Super Watch, because the Clone Wars cartoon is so a big part of it, that if you guys have seen this Battle of the Heroes in the Clone Wars animation style, it's insane. And so I feel like, I mean, I don't know how I would do it. Maybe Frank, you can re-edit one where it's you replace them with their Clone Wars characters. No, but just giving a shout out to that. I'm gonna add that to my super watch. I'll watch it after.
Wait, so you're gonna watch Revenge of the Sith, and then in live action that part, and then you're gonna go rewatch it in animated form?
No, I would. Yeah, maybe
you're just rewatching it.
Can you just edit it into the movie for me so I have that? I feel like by that time in the Super Watch, you're more attached to Clone Wars Anakin and Clone Wars Obi-Wan. So maybe if that guy can just do the rest of the Revenge of the Sith movie, that would
yeah, just have him do the whole movie. Even though it took him
really
like it took him apparently 3 years just to do that battle.
Oh my god,
took him 3 years.
Okay, you got the hard part out of the way. Get back to work.
I just spent a month editing a video and I want to pull my hair out.
It's crazy because I just got done acknowledge me. I just got done with being able to remedy that problem I used to have in my head that Clone Wars Anakin, it feels nothing like Hayden Christensen's Anakin. And then they did those scenes in the Ahsoka show.
Yeah.
So now I'm okay, good. But then they do this, and now I'm going to be torn every time I get to Revenge of the Sith during my super watches that I'll have every once a decade. Will I stop and watch that one, or will I watch the movie one? The movie one's great, but if you've already invested, 200 hours or whatever it is, the Clone Wars,
200 hours,
maybe you want to see those two brawl. So, Frank, I think it'll be really easy. Just do it. Just cut it in. And replace the live action ones and do a special Frank animated cut.
You do realize
with the Ahsoka stuff too. So
you do realize it's going to be cutting between animated Clone Wars style Obi-Wan Anakin and cutting back to Palpatine Yoda live action. You do realize that.
You do realize in the Frank cut you cut from cartoon Ahsoka and cartoon Mace Windu to real life Mace Windu. So it's not a stretch that you could keep doing it. Comic book or cartoon Mace Windu is in your Frank cut.
It's true, but that's only because there's no other version of it. There's no live action.
I think we're revolutionizing YouTube. Should I keep looking this way so it's I'm looking at it's a dialogue scene, or do I need to be looking at the camera
Well, I would have to have you placed on the left side of the screen in order for. Then if I did this. Then but see, now we're backwards though, so I don't know.
If I could full on, dude, this new camera is great, man. Look at this side profile, dude.
No one can see it.
The best title is The Rise of Skywalker. Just kidding. All right, let's get on to it.
You just let me know when I can go on my rant about the sequel trilogy titles.
Oh boy, we can't wait till we get there. So actually, let's just start off with the Phantom Menace. I guess number 1 right off the bat, right? Mm-hmm. Great title, Kevin. Why is it a great number 1 title? Why?
I think that the prequel title, the first two, got a lot of shit. The Phantom Menace, I remember people just didn't understand what that was about. But when we get to Attack of the Clones, one of the cast members weighed in on it on the red carpet, and it's hilarious. In fact, while you guys are discussing it, I can see if I can find it. But yeah, the Phantom Menace is good. I think it's so iconic now. But it wasn't when it first came out. It was what? What are we listening? What are we talking about here? Kind of like their crawl. It was just a little kind of out of whack, right? But I right now, Phantom Menace is in first place. So good job. You know what I mean? I think in retrospect, it's great. And when we get into our next week episode with theories, we could talk about what the Phantom Menace might have been originally been written about, because it might not have been Palpatine this whole time. But anyways, yeah, the Phantom Menace is great. And it's a hidden, and it really goes back to those roots of him with the old serials in the 30s and 40s that George Lucas liked. And so I remember when it was first announced, when people were hating on it, people were like, no, it's these serials, the dramatic detective kind of serials that George Lucas grew up on.
Yeah. And
obviously the Flash Gordon stuff too. So Phantom Menace is good. It's not the best, but I don't think it'll be top 5. I don't think. Well, I don't know now that I hear about Hannah and his feelings on the sequel titles, but yeah.
Yeah, Brandon, talk to me about your good feelings on the prequels before we get to the sequels.
Search your feelings. Well, Phantom Menace, solid, strong title. There's a air of mystery, of the Sith, they haven't been seen in 1,000 years. What's going on there? Is there the Sith back? Is there's a guy pulling the strings behind the scenes? I think it fits. I like it.
Yeah, I actually, as a kid, when I was like 12 or 13, I was like, what are the Phantom Menace? What are they talking about? And I think it is a little bit more of I think it's probably the most clever title Star Wars has, just because it is, I think, and I guess Kevin's going to bring up something that might contradict this, but, or at least throw a possibility out there, that it is about Sidious / Palpatine. He is the Phantom Menace. He's the guy, in the cloak, manipulating the Trade Federation and other senators and the whole government and all that stuff. So he's a phantom. And he's this menace, So I mean, it's like it does make sense. I don't, it's not as I think Star Warsy as other titles in the franchise, but I still think it's a quality, solid title, and it is interesting because the prequels are more or less about Anakin, and this title, like the titles, have nothing to do with Anakin per se, whereas if you look at the original trilogy, it's about following this journey of our heroes, A New Hope, Luke, The Empire Strikes Back is well, when we get into it, we'll discuss those thousand lives.
You could be argued that the Phantom Menace could be Anakin, though. Like, they have no idea who they're letting into their home, basically, like when they're adopting this kid. I mean, I don't think it is. I think it's Palpatine as well. But
it's Palpatine all the way.
Many different, including Darth Jar Jar, which is next week.
Right, Darth Jar Jar. Speaking of Jar Jar, he was in Attack of the Clones. Brandon, how do you feel about the Attack of the Clones title, and do you rank it above Phantom Menace or below Phantom Menace?
I don't know. I think it's fun. I just think it's a fun title. As a kid, seeing this movie come out, how could you not be hyped with a name like that? And you know what? The clones, they do attack. Okay, doesn't matter who they're attacking or when they're attacking, they attack. Okay, so I dig it. I would put it, screw it. We'll put it number 1 above Phantom Menace.
Number 1. Let's hear what Ewan McGregor has to say on the red carpet when he first heard the term Attack of the Clones.
Who was also honored for his work in Mulan.
Hold on, let's try this again. Now that
put it by your microphone, not the.
I got.
The skirt.
I actually broke the news to Ewan McGregor, Obi-Wan Kenobi himself, knew the upcoming Star Wars movie.
We can't hear it for whatever reason. Your microphone is not letting it through.
You're gonna have to.
He says, "I don't know about that." Well, yeah, just cut it over. Cut it over. Movie magic. Yeah, I'll send you the link. They muted at the end, which is weird. But I remember him saying, he says it's a terrible, terrible title. But now I'm not. They mute the very end of it, which is like, I'm so confused right now.
He's like, "What are they gonna do? Fire me? I'm Obi-Wan Kenobi."
Yeah, right. I'm 2 movies into it. We're already filming the 3rd. What can they do to me?
But I'll send this to you, and you could intercut it into the thing. But very bizarre. I think that if they don't attack anyone, they defend and rescue. I mean, I don't know. I didn't like the title when I first heard it. Now it's just ingrained. I couldn't imagine another title for it. I remember I read a fan script, and it had Anakin, or it had Leonardo DiCaprio as Anakin on the cover, on the movie poster, but it was called Shroud of the Dark Side, which is funny because I always have to link shit to KOTOR. I later I made my episode 2 of my KOTOR trilogy and named it Veil of the Dark Side. I didn't want it to call it Shroud of the Dark Side to be too on the nose, but I called it Veil of the Dark Side. Well, but yeah. The Attack of the Clones, again, it's another serial version. It's very Saturday morning cartoon sounding, Attack of the Clones, Attack of the Killer. I remember people online in the Force.net forums, because I'm old and I remember this shit.
I remember the Force.net.
Making fun of it and doing posters from Attack of the Killer Tomatoes movie and stuff. So it's cool. I would put Phantom Menace over it, but it's not a hill I need to die on. It could be above or below Phantom Menace.
I was going to say, Yoda does say the words Shroud of the Dark Side in the movie. He does not say Attack of the Clones.
That's like in the Family Guy when they always show Peter Griffin in the audience. He's like, ha, he said it. He said the title.
I'm glad you brought that up, Brandon, because I want to kind of go back just a little bit to the Phantom Menace. What would your alternate title be for the Phantom Menace Episode 1? Because I think there's like a featurette or something like that where George is writing on the notepad, and I think he titles it In the Beginning or The Beginning. I think he titles it right. The Beginning. Kevin, what would you rename Episode 1 to fit, to fit how you would see fit?
Man, I don't know. That's why Phantom Menace is kind of up there for me. I don't think it's going to be top 5 just because the others are good. I mean, Dawn, it's the beginning of the fall of the Jedi, right? They even say, when they break up the eras, they had the old, isn't it? They had the High Republic, and then this is actually called, Fall of the Jedi or Dawn of the Jedi or something, or Rise.
I don't specifically remember. That sounds somewhat right to me, but I don't remember specifically.
But yeah, Twilight of the Jedi would be good. Because it's this is the beginning of the end for them, and then you'd have Episode 2. We can't really call it the Clone Wars. Yeah,
I like what Brandon just said, though, because
it's not me trying to fantasy book any new titles. This is just me ranking them, right? So, I don't know what I would do for a different title for Episode 1. I thought it was pretty good. Episode 2, like I said, Shroud of the Dark Side would be good.
Shroud of the Dark Side would have been pretty great. I think that would have been a great alternate title for
Yoda says it.
Clones. Yeah. But I would place Attack of the Clones below Phantom Menace, just because it doesn't really. I feel like it's. I don't know. It's hard for me to articulate it, but it's like the one part of the movie, the end of the movie is kind of where the title comes into play, and I don't need to have the title necessarily encompassing the entire movie, but maybe the major important parts of the movie where, it's Anakin and Obi-Wan's relationship and his relationship with Padme, but also what Palpatine is further doing to Anakin as you see it throughout the movie. And so, and what he's doing, Palpatine, that is, to the galaxy at large. And so it would play, the prequels are more or less, as much as they're about Anakin, it's also just as much about Palpatine's plan to take over the galaxy, which is what I think Attack of the Clones is a little bit of out of step with when you compare it to Phantom Menace and Revenge of the Sith. Those work together, those make sense. You throw in Attack of the Clones, it's wait, what? So if it was more in line in terms of if you want to have a theme of the titles, I think you make it more Palpatine-centric. So Shroud of the Darkness would have made a little more sense.
Shroud of the Dark Side.
Yeah. Shroud of the Dark Side, yeah. Would make a little more sense. So that's why I want to put Attack of the Clones below Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
That's me. So, Brandon, Revenge of the Sith. Where you put in this one?
I think this one jumps up to number 1. It's got the word Sith in it. It's got the word revenge in it. It's kind of like an homage to Revenge of the Jedi, which is the original title of Return of the Jedi. So, come on. It's a cool title. That's oh, yeah. When you're 10 years old and this comes out, you're this is going to be the best movie I've ever seen in my life based on this title alone.
You'd think that would be the same for Attack of the Clones, though, too, for kids.
The Sith are getting their revenge.
Clones? We've been hearing about the clones forever, and they're going to attack? Oh my gosh, are they going to attack the Republic? No, they're helping the Republic, and we fight droids. There's no human on human action. That sounded bad. I mean, human on human violence.
Still bad.
Still bad.
So, Kevin, your thoughts on Revenge of the Sith? And are you placing this one at the top?
Number 1 right now. It's number 1 right now.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, it falls more in line with the theme of the Phantom Menace and Revenge of the Sith. I think it all goes together in terms of Palpatine's grand plan.
And poetry, too, Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
This is the fall, yeah. It could have been called, if we're doing all the alternates for all of them, just for fun, Fall of the Jedi could have been fine. Or,
true.
Yeah.
Or what about the droid attack on the Wookiees?
Yeah.
Right. For sure. You can't forget about the Wookiees.
or a grievous error. That would be if it was like a TV show. Like they really miscalculated Anakin. They call it a grievous error. Oh my gosh.
Error.
Get me a job at Disney now, bro. I'm in HD.
Sand.
Can you hear it?
Yeah.
And that's not going to do with the audio. It's the same audio. Because I have a microphone, and Frank made me buy some.
I think I got lost in the mail.
Device. I have some device thing, and I can't even use a microphone with it. Anyways,
let's get into the original.
Wait, what about you on Revenge of the Sith?
I'm putting it. I just said I put it at the top because it falls more in line again with the Phantom Menace title that I like, but I'm putting it at the top. So that's where I'm sticking that one.
That was my Drax the Destroyer impersonation.
Gotcha. A New Hope, Kevin. How do you feel about this one?
Listen, my favorite title of all the KOTOR movies I named was called A Familiar Path, the first movie, which is really a freaking brilliant title. Not to talk about KOTOR real quick. If you think about it, because in the game you're playing as, you don't realize you're playing.
Don't pat yourself on the back too hard now, Kevin, okay?
Yeah. A Familiar Path is a great title. And I came up with it. Now, Ed Asner's Vrook in the game says, you're going to find yourself walking down an all too familiar path. So I kind of stole it from that. But A New Hope, that's number one so far for me.
Because it's the first one. It set the tone.
No, I'm not going that far with this one. I would say Revenge of the Sith is above it, but then A New Hope, and then the other two. I forget what order you had them on, but yeah, A New Hope's great. And it's really ballsy because he released the fourth movie first, and so for him to stick, I guess they say, when it first came out, there was not a title above it on the crawl. I forget if that's a myth or if that's real, right? It was real, right? It just said they didn't have a title.
No, yeah, he wanted it, I think, but then Fox told him that's so stupid. Why would you release this movie? Call it Episode 4. But I think in a re-release a year later or 2 years later at the most, they re-released it as Episode 4: A New Hope.
Gotcha. Okay. So I remember because I remember seeing the crawl without it, which is really cool. Yeah. Really, it feels so barren and empty, but yeah,
it feels weird. It was naked.
It is kind of weird. Yeah,
it's like seeing Ahsoka without her head thing. It's like
right. Yeah. All right, so
I bet
Kevin,
people in the galaxy buy magazines to see Ahsoka without that headband thing. You know what I mean? So
okay. Unfortunately, I do know what you mean, Kevin, because I've known you for quite a while.
Well, I think we have 100 people watch a week. I don't think I'm going to get canceled, but yeah.
No, but if you ever run for office, people will dig this episode up.
This is the week we blow up, Kevin.
I know, watch.
All weeks.
I have been forced to leave because we go viral.
Brandon, where are you going to rank this one?
I think I'll put it below Revenge of the Sith. It's a solid title. It's on the nose. It's, it should almost be called New Hopes, like plural. I don't know. Leia, but I don't.
No, Leia ain't part of the crew right there yet, dude.
No, we should rename it the Great White Hope.
Leia ain't destroying no Death Star, bro. Leia's not George Lucas also didn't decide that Leia was his brother or his sister yet. So A New Hope is referring to Luke, obviously. And I'm not hating on Leia. Leia's fantastic, by the way.
She's still a critical part of the Rebel Alliance, Kevin. She's part of the High Command. Come on.
She allowed the Millennium Falcon to get tracked. And they still went to Yavin. They should have never taken that. When she says we're being tracked, she should have been like, let's not go to Yavin 4. Let's get the hell out of here. But that's why the Empire knows they're on Yavin 4. They follow the Falcon. Right?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is Leia's bad. She says they're tracking us, obviously.
It is kind of a funny line. It's a funny line to say, to be like, they're following us. Not this ship, sister.
Not this ship, sister. We're going.
Sister, he knew.
They put that in your fan theories.
If we still did shorts, that would have been a great ending to that short.
Actually, yeah. The original line was "Not this ship, Luke's sister," but then it's like,
right.
It's like when Neil Armstrong first walked on the moon, and he said one small step for a man, but the A cut out in the transmission. It was like a similar thing. The audio
is that a really thing? It did cut out. He was supposed to say one small step for a man.
Yeah, But then,
One
like,
giant
yeah,
leap
you
for
couldn't hear
mankind.
the A or something like that. So it just sounded like
It
one
sounds
small
way
step
more
for
epic
man.
without the right? Yeah.
Hmm?
Right? It sounds more epic without the A.
Yeah.
Sounds more
But
inclusive.
well, yeah, it's a little more inclusive. I don't mean it that way. Like, man, I'm really
Yeah, I know,
scoring
but I
points
mean,
with our
like, that was
female audience
mentality
today.
back then, you know.
Hi, Janine. Sorry about that, Janine. Our
I'm
female demographic.
I'm going to agree with Brandon here, actually, and put it below Revenge of the Sith. So you've been overruled, Kevin. That's
No, I
just how
said
it is.
Revenge of the Sith should be over it. I said I'm
Oh,
fine
did
with
you?
the
Yeah,
Sith being over
I
it.
think he
At
changed
first,
his
I said
mind.
I changed my mind. But
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, cool. So we got Revenge of the Sith, A New Hope, The Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones. Those are the 4 right now. And we move on to The Empire Strikes Back. And I got to tell you, this title, I like this title a lot because unlike Attack of the Clones, at least to me, this title puts a little fear, gives you a little like an impending doom of like what's in store for our heroes, given what happened in the previous installment, and it's
Attack
a
of
dark
the Stormtroopers was the original title was Attack
right.
of the Stormtroopers.
Attack of the Stormtroopers. To me, this one it just also it really does set the tone, and it follows the tone of the movie. It's a dark time right now for our heroes as they're split up, and Luke's training, and Han gets put in carbonite, and everything, and the alliance is kind of scattered at this point a little bit. So I do like that, and we're also seeing just like Vader being like full force, Vader doing whatever he wants to track down Luke, and drops a massive bombshell on Luke at the end, and cinematic history, if you will. So I would put this below Revenge of the Sith. I would put it number 2 for me. I don't know where you stand, Kevin.
Oh, it's above Revenge of the Sith.
You put it in your number 1?
No, well, my number 1 is the next one, not the spoiler alert. I mean,
Gotcha.
But
Okay.
Sorry, muting Discord. The Empire Strikes Back, though, just instill. I think it's to you too, Frank. I'm guessing a lot of nostalgia with it. Way more nostalgia for Empire Strikes Back than Revenge of the Sith, but I still think I put. Oh man, I don't know. See, I keep changing, but yeah, I mean, I would say I just don't want to be that homer that always puts the original trilogy above everything else.
Hey, be you.
So,
don't be afraid to be you. Do you?
Yeah, but the Empire Strikes Back. If you're talking about like the Strikes Back is cool, it's striking back. Also,
especially
the
with
logos
Hoth,
too, like not. And like, well, the logo too, like from the '80s. Remember, it was like this, like crooked, like almost like a rhombus.
Yeah.
Rhombus?
I have the
Harrison Ford.
When we did in studio recordings, I had that poster in the background.
Yeah, and that is one of the coolest titles for. It's just the wording the way it is, and I would argue the same with the next one with Trajan Pro, which is the font that they used in that. But yeah, Empire Strikes Back is for me firmly above Revenge of the Sith, and why is because Revenge of the Sith, even though it was an homage to Revenge of the Jedi, but it was also trying to do that poetic like reversal of Return of the Jedi. So it's not entirely like super creative, right? Whereas The Empire Strikes Back was like when that was written, it was just blazing new trails. So yeah, The Empire Strikes Back would be number 1 for me above Revenge of the Sith.
Okay. And Brandon, are you going to split the difference here? What are you going to do? Where are you going to put it? How do you feel? Talk about it.
Don't make me choose. Well, I was gonna say, like, I think about that old like trailer for Empire Strikes Back where Harrison Ford like does the voiceover and he's just like, "The Empire Strikes Back." It
is weird.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
But I don't know. I kind of like. I'm trying to like pull like nostalgia out of it because I do kind of think Revenge of the Sith is just like a cooler title.
Yeah,
I don't know. So I think I might.
It has
have
the
to
word
give
Sith
it
in it too, which gives its bonus.
Yeah,
it's got the word Sith in it, which is pretty sick, dude. What are you more afraid of? The Empire striking back? They do that all the time, but the Sith getting their revenge once in 1,000 years, guy.
Oh man.
Well, with that logic, I'd be more scared of the Empire. That's everyday thing. Revenge of the Sith, I can see it coming 1,000 miles away or 1,000 years away.
Because they're a Phantom Menace. They
1,000
sneak
generations
right up on
away,
you,
bro.
Right.
They sneak
All right, Brian,
right
where are you
up
going to
on
put it? Where are you going to put it?
Well, yeah, that I have to decide that. I'll put it below Revenge of the Sith.
Okay.
Bunch of Revenge of the Sith homers in here, man.
Mm-hmm. Sorry,
Myself
it's got like
included. But the next title better fucking trump it,
that
dude.
movie's got more lightsaber fights per capita than any other Star Wars movie.
Per capita, right? Let's get to Return of the Jedi, and I do want to touch on something
Return of the Jedi
that Kevin, you brought up a little bit briefly, if that. You talk about kind of like the font styles and how A New Hope, The Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi all had different, distinct font styles. When you look at the prequels and you look at the sequels, they're all the same. They're all the same. Exactly correct, Kevin. You can look up stuff on Google. Good job.
I'm not trying to brag. I'm trying to add your commentary.
Instead of me putting up the actual graphic, you want people to look at your phone.
I'm trying to save you time. I know you're going to be up late doing this, man.
I'm actually not.
Me.
So what I do want to say about like the font styling of what we got with the original trilogy and what we didn't get with the other 6 movies, I think it's kind of, now that I look back on it, I go, dang man, I wish, because that added more character to like the movie and the marketing, and it made it, it's a different thing, but it is still within the Star Wars universe.
Here's why. In the prequels, they made it a big deal, if you remember, and I remember someone gave me commentary about this when I was doing my KOTOR titles, because I was doing the same way. The Phantom Menace poster, which you'll pop up here, but now that I could show it to you guys here, the whole, and what happened is that they got lost in this technique. The whole point was that it was episode 1. Back in 1999, everybody knew that, oh my God, episode 1 of Star Wars. And so that was part of the marketing. It was episode, see how big it is? And then it was on the bottom, it was such a minor thing. So I used to do that with KOTOR. I would have that. And then someone was no, man, like I had the episodes big, but they're like, no, you should make KOTOR big so people from far away see it. That was at the film festival. So what I'm trying to say is, the marketing lost track of that. So it's like, yeah, you're right. Like, we were robbed of what could have been a really cool Revenge of this. And again, when the originals came out, it wasn't A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. It was Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. Star Wars had the logo, The Empire Strikes Back had the rhombus logo, and then this one with Trajan Pro, that was their logo. So that's why I got to give Return of the Jedi the top spot. It also created, that's the font that they later used for all these episodes, like the Trajan Pro. Trahan Pro, maybe I'm saying it wrong. GIF, whatever. GIF. But yeah, Return of the Jedi. Also, it's just so cool. Return of the Jedi, and you're like, is it a return? It's literally for Luke returning because he's a Jedi. But it's like, and then the original script, like, oh, this is back when it was Revenge of the Jedi, but like they had Obi-Wan and Yoda like helping out as Force ghosts against Palpatine. So it's like it was about the Jedi returning. So, but more or less, it's Luke returning, and because he lives, then he's going to be able to train a new generation of Jedi. So it's the Return of the Jedi, which is why I think The Last Jedi is a pretty cool title too. I know you probably don't like it, but yeah, Return of the Jedi, #1 spot for me. It elicits so much love in my heart for Star Wars, and that logo was just badass. So yeah, what say you guys?
Go ahead, Brandon. Give it to me straight. Don't pull any punches.
I like it. Do I like it more than Revenge of the Sith? Because it's the polar opposite. It would get me amped, I would say, if I was going to this movie for the first time and it's like, okay, man, the Empire Strikes Back. Oh, but the Jedi are returning? Okay. What's going to happen there? It's a good, solid title. But where?
How long have you wanted to see Jedi return with their lightsabers?
The Jedi return.
The Return of the Jedi walked, so Revenge of the Sith.
The Jedi return every 20, 30 years, man. Whatever. Yeah, I'll put it #1.
Yeah, I'm gonna put it #1 too.
Frank, to quote Frank, be you.
Be you.
I have a feeling Frank's gonna break the tie anyway. So
I mean, I'm gonna put it #1. I think it's a great title.
Mm-hmm.
It is slightly better than Revenge of the Sith, if only because Return of the Jedi is a more uplifting title. It's a more hopeful title. And yeah, Revenge of the Sith, like a lot of dark stuff is brooding and sounds badass, but it also there's a lot of like, a lot of bad that comes with it. Like not a great feeling when the Sith are around. When the Jedi is around, it's like hell yeah, the Jedi. They're here to save us. Blah blah blah. So I put Return of the Jedi up there, and it's like you got Luke, and at this point, like Luke, you seen him with his new abilities. You saw a little bit in Empire, but now. On Jabba's sail barge, in the beginning of the movie, the opening sequence when they're on the sail barge and he's fighting on the skiff. Kevin didn't even react to that because he's so preoccupied looking up his stock options. I guess I don't know.
No. What
Brandon,
did you say that I'm sorry?
No, I was just saying
I was
that.
trying to again be like visual aids for you, but I couldn't find it. Go ahead.
I can do that later. We don't have to do it in the middle of the show. like we don't have any time after,
now, bro. I'm high def. I'm saving you Red Bull. You drink too much Red Bull. I'm worried about that little heart that's beating me. Do you have a heart? I feel like you have a heart, but I'm worried about you, pal.
Ding, 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 ding. Yeah, it's still there. All right, so we put Return of the Jedi so far is number 1. Number 2, Revenge of the Sith. Then The Empire Strikes Back, followed by A New Hope, The Phantom Menace, and Attack of the Clones. And now we're on to The Force Awakens. And I want to start with Brandon because top of the show, as you may recall, he said he has some strong opinions. And this might be really interesting because you know what, Brandon? You have the floor.
It's not all I hyped it up to be. It's really, I just have a huge problem with the fact that every single movie in the sequel trilogy starts with the word The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, The Rise of Skywalker. It looks like ASS on my Blu-ray shelf. Like, it's no variety. It's like The Phantom Menace. Okay, we got a Attack of the Clones. No The Revenge of the Sith. No A New Hope. Ooh, we threw an A. That's a new article we haven't explored yet. Back to The Empire Strikes Back, and then The Return of the Jedi. Or is this Return of the Jedi?
It's just Return of the Jedi.
There's some back and forth. There's some back and forth, but then you get to the sequel trilogy, and it's the, and it just looks ugly.
Fair enough. But now we're talking about The Force Awakens. How do you?
The Force Awakens. I remember I was in the dining hall area at my college, grabbing some lunch, doing some studying. This popped up on Twitter when they announced the title. I was like, that's interesting. I don't know what that means. And in hindsight, I've always defended it. I'm like, all right, yeah, the Force awoke. There was an imbalance. It awoke within Rey. Positive light, positive darkness. The darkness rises in the light to meet it. All that stuff. They say it in the movie a bunch of times.
That's in The Last Jedi, that line.
I thought
they
that was
say
the
it in
Jedi.
the trilogy. Okay.
Okay.
The
trilogy. Yeah.
Here's a side note. There was a fan film back in the early days of theforce.net. I'm pretty sure I saw it because I used to watch every fan film. I was obsessed. And it's like one of those fan films where it had a lightsaber duel in their backyard, which looked like the forest. And people are wearing, their linens and their comforters as Jedi robes. But they nailed the title. They called it The Force Awakens.
That's awesome.
And if you do digging, that's maybe, well, Frank, you know what? I'm not going to help look this up. You look it up. But maybe you could find a still from it. There was a short fan film called The Force Awakens. They nailed the title. It's so funny. And I'm talking this is like 1994, 1993 that this title was already in use. But yeah, The Force Awakens I think is great. I think that's a great title. I put it right below Revenge of the Sith. No, sorry, right below. Do we have Empire under? I don't,
yeah.
Could you do it? Yeah, I think it's under Empire, above A New Hope.
Okay.
Brandon, where did you put it? I think I was going to put it in the same spot.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so
maybe below A New Hope. I'm sorry, I can't go below, or I can't go above A New Hope with that. But it's good. It's like, you know what? I feel equally about those two movies, and it's funny because one is being accused of copying the other. The Force Awakens is a great. I love that it's an homage to A New Hope. So, and I just think the title is a creative title. I know you don't like the does, and I get that, but it is an interesting one as far as it's something. I'm not to try to break it down, but it's like something. It's what is that? An adverb? Not so awakens. That's a verb, but past tense. Or awake, not the Force Awakened. I'm showing how stupid I am. But it's
You're right.
Continue, please.
Is it an adverb
It's
or a verb? To awaken, I awaken you. That's a verb.
Yes.
Can we cut this part, Frank?
No.
Can we cut this? Okay. But yeah, it's a great title. But I'll put it below A New Hope because A New Hope is epic and started it all. Sorry, Frank.
I really like this title. I know it's an homage to A New Hope, but I think it's a better title than A New Hope.
I don't think the title is an homage to New Hope. Do you?
Oh well, I mean, sort of, because we're talking about how The Force Awakens kind of is like a redo of A New Hope. So with the title A New Hope, The Force Awakens, which is basically A New Hope, which is Rey, right? So like she's the New Hope in the galaxy, but the Force is awakened because it's been dormant because, for whatever reason at that point in the galaxy. Which really isn't true, sort of, based on the Mandoverse and Ahsoka and all that stuff, but that's a whole other thing. Anyways, I was going to put this below... I was going to put this at number 3, below Return of the Jedi, below Revenge of the Sith, but above The Empire Strikes Back. But...
Wow, Empire's your favorite movie.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean it's my favorite title.
I cannot sit here idly by and let that happen, but it's up to Brandon then, because Brandon will have to break the tie. I think it needs to be below Empire.
Yeah, I think I put it below Empire.
Okay,
but we can put it above A New Hope if you like. Yeah, that much.
We can do that. We'll do that. I can roll with that. That sounds good to me.
Yeah.
So
we're a team, you guys, and we're making the best list.
That was like the easiest compromise I think we've ever done in the entire history of this show. We will now move on to The Last Jedi. And Brandon, big fan of this movie. Are you a big fan of the title?
Big fan of the movie, and I'm a big fan of the title. I think it's a sick title, dude. When that trailer first dropped and it was just The Last Jedi at the end, we're like, oh my God. That's so cool. The dual meanings, like Kevin was saying, like Luke's the last Jedi, or is it the last Jedi plural? You throw Rey in there. What's going on? I don't know. It's just like a cool, like mysterious, like ominous title. Like, what's going on there? You throw we got a Jedi back in the mix. It only took 2 movies. Jedi's already back in the mix.
Right.
Jedi's in the crawl. The term "the Last Jedi" is in the crawl of The Force Awakens.
Yes.
I always thought was cool too.
So where would I put it though? I think I'm gonna put it above Empire.
Okay. So that would right now that means we'd have a Jedi Sith Jedi in the top 3 titles.
Jedi sandwich.
That'd be a Sith sandwich actually. A Sith sandwich.
Depends on how you look at it.
I guess how would you?
Frank, more visual aids for you.
Fantastic.
They went with the red logo, which was always interesting.
Red was great. Red.
I dug
that's what the sequels did. They went blue, red, yellow.
They went yellow, red, blue.
Red, blue. That's
but that's what they did. You're still cheated out on there are some fan posters where they created their own logos for it. But yeah, so like you had the episode was the most important thing about the prequels. The originals obviously were their own logos, and then for the sequels, the Star Wars logo, it was like Star Wars is back, I guess.
Yeah,
and they'd always sneak it in. We stole that logo for our Revan series too, by the way.
Yes, you did.
I'm not hating on it. The Last Jedi is a great title. I don't think it's above Empire Strikes Back, but if it ends up there, I'm not. It's not the end of the world. So I think it's going to be relying on. No, I think.
Well, it depends where you place it, Kevin.
Empire.
Where are you placing it?
Wait, no, it's up to you, Frank. It's going to be up to you. But it's a great title. It's mysterious. It is. It's like, damn, The Last Jedi. I mean, and The Empire Strikes Back could have called it that if you think about it. I guess not, because they say there's another. But The Last Jedi is fantastic. Great title. I'm gonna still say Empire above it, but I'm not hating anyone if they go against that.
I agree with Kevin. I do like this title a whole lot. I don't know that I could put it above Empire Strikes Back. That it's such a fun title, and to the credit of The Last Jedi, there's a lot of intrigue there. There's a lot of mystery. Like, what the hell does that even mean? But I just think, as much as I want to have that Sith sandwich, at the top 3, I gotta. Oh man, do I want to put it above The Empire Strikes Back? I'm gonna do it. I am. It's gonna be so far. It's gonna be Return of the Jedi, Revenge of the Sith, The Last Jedi, The Empire Strikes Back, The Force Awakens, A New Hope, The Phantom Menace,
I don't like
Attack of
that.
the Clones. Well, you know what? You said I was a tiebreaker, and I took it.
What a betrayal to Kevin.
Yeah, he'll get over it. The Rise of Skywalker. How do we feel about this one?
Select all, drag to bottom. It just makes. I don't hate the movie as much as most people do, but it makes no sense. It makes no sense. You could have called it Rise of the Clones instead of Attack of the Clones. That would have been cool. Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
Attack of the Skywalkers.
But the Rise of Skywalker, like. Skywalker's not rising, dude. He's a ghost, and Rey adopts the name Skywalker, and Leia dies in that movie. Like, there's no rising of Skywalker. And now the rumor was that like she was gonna, instead of calling it the Jedi at the end of the movie, like she was gonna, and maybe they'll do that in the Rey movie, but they'll that she was gonna call it the Sky, like how like the Jedi Bendu, she was gonna call it like how Miyagi has their Miyagi dojo. She's gonna call it the Skywalker dojo. If that's the case, and that's what happens in the sequel to the sequels, then it's a brilliant title, because then I won't hate it. But right now, it makes no sense. There's 50 million other titles. Like a title we didn't use. KOTOR Episode 3, we called it The Circle of Fate, because it just felt better that it was like full circle. So it was a familiar path, Veil of the Dark Side, and the Circle of Fate, meaning like it was a familiar path he went on, and then it's he's wrapping it all up. It's the circle, it's the fate, how everything goes, like destiny. The last movie could have been called Fate of the, but originally I wanted to call it Fate of the Galaxy, because Malik says in the game, we will fight and decide the fate of the galaxy. So I think Fate of the Galaxy, because remember when everybody's coming, it's like the whole galaxy shows up, right? Be with me, and there are more of us. Like, so Fate of the Galaxy, or like Avengers Endgame. Like it's Endgame. It's the final destiny. Call it Final Destiny. I don't know, but I mean it's not final because they can continue moving it. But Rise of Skywalker. I to be honest, I like the movie probably the most pundits online, but I do not get the title at all. It's below. To quote Ewan McGregor, are they serious? So.
I will say,
I think he even says, I don't know. Go ahead.
The Rise of Skywalker is, I want it to be cool. Like, but I want it, like, it should evoke more emotion. You're talking about Skywalker, like the Skywalker, like, I should be more excited about Skywalker in a title, and I just never really was. Because I just didn't understand how it makes sense to the movie. I'm with you, Kevin. Like what is, because like Kylo / Ben Solo, he's got Skywalker blood, but he's not. He's Han Solo's kid. I mean, and he is just as much as Leia's son. But it's like, I don't know, the Skywalkers. I feel. I don't know. Maybe it's more of a fraternal thing. I don't know, but I don't know what I would also rename the movie based on the movie that they gave us. I don't know what you would, because obviously we all know Colin Trevorrow's title, Duel of the Fates, right? And then, but you, Kevin, you brought up Fate of the Galaxy, which I think is fine for like.
Look, it's serviceable. I thought the reason we didn't name it in the end was like it was very like kind of bland, right? But it's still like something about overall. What do you think, Brandon? What would do you like the title? No. But what would your alternate title be?
Yeah, I think I put this at the bottom of the list. It never made any sense to me. I saw, I don't want to pick on them, but I saw someone on Twitter doing some mental gymnastics the other day. Or was it like yesterday, talking about how Ben Solo's a Skywalker, and then Rey was dead, and then he used his Skywalker life force and put it into Rey so that she would live, and hence the rise of Skywalker. And I was like, I don't know about all that, dude. But,
yeah. Oh, they would talk about how he came up through at the end of the movie, how he comes back up through
a
hole or whatever.
Shot by there's a lot of beautiful shots in that final sequence. You know, when they're both holding their lightsabers up, facing down Palpatine, and when he reaches his hand up, and the panning up of the camera, and even the like, as I once fell, so falls the last Skywalker. Maybe they should have called it the last Skywalker. That would have been cool.
To give Frank more work. Make sure you cut in the shot of the fan film where they took all the fan edit where all the ghosts were like helping the Rey. You're showing it right now, so it doesn't matter what I'm doing here. Just kidding. Maybe he's not going to show it. But that's the only thing that's missing from that scene. But I agree, it's very, very cool.
They should have called it the mute Skywalker, because Ben Solo doesn't say a single word in the entire third act of this movie except for "ow." That was it.
Maybe you call it the return of Solo.
That's like one of those things where, like,
the return of Solo.
The first time you're watching that movie,
the Force Dyad. You should have called it the Force Dyad. Like,
Force Dyad would have been interesting, but I think that's too nerdy. I think that's too nerdy in my opinion.
We were going to call our podcast the Force Triad at one point.
Yeah, but we're not nerdy. Like, I'm not saying that it's not.
That's the name of our freaking thread. I think our text thread.
Anyways,
no, it's Triad. Triad is what it is.
Anyways, to say a nice thing about that movie is that whole third act sequence with Ben Solo is sick. I love it. But then the second time you watch it, you go, wait, he didn't say anything.
His last word is a oomph when he jumps on the chain.
But
his last word was,
"This is not a Rise of Skywalker episode. We can't keep going on."
No. But I will say, to get rid of all the "thes" in the title, they should have called this one Star Wars Episode 9, End of the Sith.
End of the Sith. That would have been.
Think about that one.
Okay.
End of the Sith.
But it kind of gives away the movie, though.
So do all the other titles: Revenge of the Sith, Return of the Jedi.
Sure. That's fair.
You putting on Revenge of the Sith and thinking you're about to see a happy ending, bro?
Batman Forever sequel. The fourth Batman was going to be called Batman Triumphant, and that could have been called. You could have called it the Jedi Triumphant.
Star Wars Episode 9, Batman Triumphant.
All right, it's the bottom.
Yeah. So the final ranking we have here. This is definitive. This cannot be disputed anywhere else in the world in the fandom, and this is the list to which all
it's not subjective
fans.
At all.
Right. This is the list that all fans are sworn to upholding now, and it goes like this. Number 1, well, let's start at the bottom. Number 9, The Rise of Skywalker. Number 8, Attack of the Clones. Number 7, The Phantom Menace. Number 6, A New Hope. Number 5, The Force Awakens. And our top 3, The Empire Strikes Back. Number 2, Revenge of the Sith. And number 1, Return of the Jedi. I think that's a pretty good list. We got sequels, prequels. We got the sequels. The Force Awakens there at number 4. You got love to the original trilogy, and then some love for the prequel, Revenge of the Sith. I think that's a quality list. I'm pretty happy with how this turned out, guys.
Me too. Good job, man.
All right, that's gonna wrap up this week's episode.
Well, I have one thing to say before we wrap it up.
Do you? Okay. Well, next week we're gonna be talking about some fan theories. And so stay tuned for that one. That one should be quite interesting and quite fun. Again, if this is your first time here at the channel, subscribe to our YouTube channel, subscribe to the podcast feed, and all of our social medias. The links are down in the description. If you want to check out our Discord, link for that down there as well. And Kevin's got some parting words or questions or musings.
Parting wisdom. But before that, we also have a new trailer on our KOTOR channel, Smash City Studios. New trailer for the upcoming Convergence movie. And so you can get we just released it. Yes. Well, we released it last week on his channel or before the end of the year on my partner's channel, Darth Varkor. Because it's his Revan as well. So I said, release it on your channel first. We'll do it a couple weeks later. So it's on my channel now. If you haven't seen it, check Smash City Studios. And remember, if the Millennium Falcon can be a piece of junk and fall apart continuously for decades and still be cool and kick ass, then so can you. Make it a good 2024. That's super cheesy.
It's staying in. It's great. That's so good.
Cut it out.
Scoundrel. Scoundrel. I like the sound of that.